I am going to put the minutes into the chat, which I did already. In case you joined after I put it into the chat, I'll do it again. Um, if we can just start with a brief review of the minutes, that would be great. And I'll put it on my screen in the event that you're having a hard time opening up.
Dr. Mike,
Yeah,
I did want to mention one change.
yeah.
Shernette Walters is no longer the president of the High School President's Council. Um, the position was vacant until I think last month they had elections. Um, so I don't know if you want to just put vacant president of Queens High School's President's Council. The new president is Quentin. I'm not sure of his last name.
Okay, we'll have to follow up on that. Eduardo, could you do me a
Yeah,
favor and
I
find that
put
out
that.
for me?
Yeah, I put that information in the chat. Good
Okay, great.
morning.
Let me just put it in there now so that as soon as you add it in there, Eduardo, I'll put it into the minutes, and we'll make sure that if you can also include an email address, Eduardo, that would be
Yes.
great, and Lewis will update the DLT distribution list. Okay. Thank you for that, Rachel.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, folks, any adjustments that need to be made? Do we have consensus on the minutes? Thank you, Rob. Anyone else? Virtual thumbs up works too. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Eden. Lamar, we're good? Okay, perfect. All right, guys, welcome. This is our first meeting of the new year. It is hard to believe. We just every year these school years seem to come and go faster and faster. It's really crazy that we are already in mid-January, but here we are. Today for my presentation, I will not be talking about the data just yet. Our schools are just in the process of, so our progress monitoring for DCEP will be in our during our February meeting. We'll have a breakdown of where we are within each of our goals for this school year. But for today, I'll just have our greetings, obviously, welcome. I'm going to share a little bit of some of the entry points for our new Chancellor, Chancellor Samuels. We'll do a quick connection before content, updates and reminders. I do want to go over the SLT information again, just for a couple of spaces that maybe perhaps we can come up with an agreed upon set of next steps based on said data. Parent survey, just some planned sessions that we have, just to share it with you. Arts funding, would love for everyone to go over a brief set of options that we have for Arts Connection, gather your perspectives on that, and then some feedback from you around the Save for College program as well. There will be one section in here too that I would like to talk to you about around MTSS and things that we can do as a DLT to continue to spread the word, and I'll mention why in just a couple of minutes. So that'll be through our day this morning, our time this morning anyway. And we're going to start off with a brief connection before content, and I'm going to put it into the chat. We'll do a very, very brief breakout room. So for New Year's, are you someone who likes a quiet reflection or big celebration? Which one? What side do you live on when it comes in bringing in and ringing in the new year? Are you someone who likes a quiet reflection or big celebration? Which one? So it's kind of a this or that for you this morning. Be in that space of reflection. We'll do a very brief breakout room for all of you guys. and we'll be in those rooms just for a couple of minutes, just for a brief little chat. 2 minutes in there. What side of it do you live on for yourself? Right? Open those rooms, hop in real quick little chat, and then we will come right back out. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Any of you guys want to share out what you chatted with one of your neighbors, one of our DLT members? Quiet reflection, big celebration. I heard a couple of in-betweens.
I was sharing with Rob, I am a quiet reflector, and I may or may not watch the ball drop. If I'm up, great. If I'm not, I'll see you tomorrow. Happy New Year.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Lamar. Anyone else?
No problem.
This is Rachel. I'm middle of the road. I like little small house party with a bunch of friends, some good food and drinks, and may or may see the ball drop, may be home by 10:30. It depends. But yeah, I'm middle of the road.
Love it. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah, I could
Eduardo?
say my
Go ahead, Rob.
That's for my life. It's been very interested in the ball dropping and celebrating it to now where it's just another day. I go to bed 10 o'clock. What do I care?
Yeah, so younger me maybe would have been bigger celebration. Older me, not necessarily as much.
And we go back to
Eduardo?
work. Like we go back to work 2 days later. I get back
I
in
know,
my
it's
rhythm,
true.
man. I can't be
It's
staying
true.
up late.
This year wasn't bad though. That extra day was actually quite nice in between. We don't always get that, but it was nice this year. Eduardo, did you want to say something?
Yes, so Gus and I agree on quiet celebration. In the 80s, in '89, I did experience the Times Square ball drop. But it's just it's one of those things you got to experience at least once in your lifetime. But once you've done it, you realize you're more comfortable at home watching the whole thing on TV.
Love that. Thanks, Eduardo. Although I have to tell you, I don't know that I ever had any interest in standing in that crowd of people. I bet it was a pretty cool experience for one time, but for me personally, I don't know if I can do it. I don't like feeling like I'm like a sardine. That's for sure.
They don't let you go to the bathroom, man.
Yeah,
You have to stand in.
That's what we were actually talking about, me and Mary, because I said my ex-husband actually works at the ball drop, and he told me like stories about people are like walking around wearing diapers for the night because they can't go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
because they'll lose their spot. And it's like I was like, I would never want to be there because of that in itself.
Yeah, I don't know.
But,
To me, it's that. I mean, I love it for anyone else, but for me, I don't know. I can't do it. I don't think I can do that. Anyone else?
I'll finish up. So
Yeah.
I said usually we do like a typical family thing, like my kids, my parents, me. This year, my daughter happened to be sick, so it ended up becoming just me and her at home while my parents had my son. Although this year was supposed to be with a few additional family members that have joined our group, and we had to cancel all that once my daughter was sick. But we were literally asleep at 12:01.
Yeah, I was saying if not for Stranger Things with my kids, I was ready to go to sleep by like 9. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys, for participating in that. I'll hop back into the deck. Okay. So this is just a shout out and welcome to our new Chancellor, Chancellor Samuels. Really excited for the new Chancellor to be joining the ranks in New York City in this particular in this fashion. Chancellor Samuels was a New York City superintendent for quite a while. So we're really excited about the experiences and the work that he's going to be able to bring to the role, and I'm looking forward to working for him moving forward. Chancellor Samuels has a few areas that he's mentioned a number of times in his chats, and this idea of creating a safe, academically rigorous, and integrated experiences for our learners across New York City. What I'm really excited about is that intention around New York City Reads and continuing to push that work forward. New York City Solves, and MTSS. As you guys know, MTSS is a big part of our conversation and has been for a long time here in district. And we do want to keep the ball rolling with that. And moving forward as a district community, what I do think, and when I get to the slide, is going to be a conversation around MTSS. We did share this during our SLT training, but just most recently, even at our CEC meeting, I asked the CEC members, what do we already know about MTSS? And you can see like this hesitation that's there around what it means. So I want us to have a little bit of a conversation around how we can continue to build on this conversation to make sure that the awareness is where it needs to be for our families across our schools. So I'm really excited that this is part of our conversation moving forward, as our schools and our kids, more importantly, need us to be in that space of monitoring. And then the other part is around making sure that we're being responsive inside of our instruction to student needs as well as the diversity within and across our schools. So, making sure that we're staying connected to resources that have been made available to us through hidden voices and things of that nature. Just making sure that we're making really strong decisions. So, looking forward to building on that work. Just a reminder, our newsletter is always up and available. Prior to the holidays, kids engaging in food drives, clothing drives, and so on. Really, really happy that our schools are continuing those year-long processes of making sure that we're giving back to our communities. And I'll say a few more words about that in a little bit. We did have our district all-star basketball game for elementary schools prior to the break. This was really, really exciting time for our kids, and so happy that we're able to bring this to our kids in the district community. Big shout out to Diana and all of our coaches for the work that they have done, including an addition that has become part of our work, and that's from Mr. Marino's school. One of his folks also adds to the flavor by bringing his equipment to live interviews on the sidelines and having these things live streamed for our district community to participate in. So big shout out to 120 as well for adding on to these great experiences for our kids. Arts funding. So did want to make sure that you guys were aware that we are in process of organizing our arts dollars. What I have done is really connected with our schools that had their budgets were on the limited side, to give them additional support in terms of residencies in their buildings. So right now we have 7 schools that I've been able to connect with. We have purchase orders going out for them, and we have another 4 schools that have received arts grants based on conversations that I've had with the central team. So that's 201, 219, 20, and 499. Each of those schools have received opportunities to participate in arts work. But what I'd like everyone to do right now, and I'm going to put this into the chat so you have it, and I'll open it up on screen. But this is Arts Connection, and what I would love to do is get some feedback from you guys around some of these options that are here, because I would like to create more community-based experiences where we're inviting families to participate in arts-based events. Now, typically, Arts Connection, like these others, like Studio in a School and Flushing Town Hall, they do like to create more of a residency experience where a culminator is with a family event. So I'd like to do a little bit of both. I'd like to have more residencies made available to our schools, but I would like to have some standalone just arts experiences for our district community. So if I can ask you guys, just for the next 5 minutes, give this document a look-see. There are a bunch of examples of what we can offer to our district community. You'll see some of them that'll say family event. They're 45 to 90 minutes. They can be in the form of art workshops or just presentations where they're doing a musical type of experience or a theater experience. But if I can give you guys just the next 5 minutes just to review and then give your feedback around those that you think would be appropriate or most appropriate for the district that we can offer. And typically they allow for like 60 people at a time. So just take the next 5 minutes and put my timer on just to give it a quick review, and then give me some of your perspectives of what you think would be best for our district community, and then we'll begin organizing some of those for our district. Yeah, sorry, Gus, we got sucked back in. Um, any comments? From our group, we kind of heard a little bit about thinking about this through what's the overarching vision of the arts for the district, which I do think that we can come back to and connect on for sure. And then there's also just the spending of the dollars. Whether or not we receive arts funding like this at the district level. Again, we did late last year, which was great. We did earlier this year, which was great. And now it's about making sure we're spending it well. So did any of you have any thoughts around, Arts Connection? So because of spending rules, you can spend the maximum for any of these groups is up to $25,000, which is why it's a $25,000 limit for Arts Connection. In terms of studio in a school, another $25,000 was allocated, and another $25,000 for Flushing Town Hall. The group that has the money that's remaining right now is Arts Connection. Some of the schools that have reached out to me earlier in the year because they were light in funds, so we were able to support their residency programs through these dollars. But did anything come up in your group that we want to call out based on the items that were present?
So Eduardo and I, this is Lamar,
Hey, Lamar.
briefly had a conversation, and bad news, well, not bad news, but the downside, it was probably the most expensive one on the list. But just on what I feel might be a positive response from the students, the puppetry one I thought would be a really interesting space to delve into. Now, I don't know what that looks like. I was saying, I don't know what that looks like in terms of a culminating activity or what that looks like, if you do this, but it was, I always talk about Andy at 244 and the puppets that he makes. And I got mine, and the kids light up when they just see this little thing. So like, it'd be really cool to somehow give them the opportunity to have one of their own, I just know that when they see mine, it's a thing. It's a reaction. How'd you do that? It looks so much like you. So why can't, we can give them that space to have a little fun with it. I thought that one stuck out to me the most.
Thanks for that, Lamar.
No problem.
Gus?
Yeah, I had mentioned the possibility of maximizing your resources, both internally and externally, and reaching out to the Queens Museum, for example. They have free programs, they're a city agency, and then utilizing a connection with the Queens Museum, maybe Arts Connection, maybe and go after some other funding. New York Council for the Arts is one that comes to mind. There are other arts-related funding opportunities that the district in the past has gotten, and you could maximize. I know the director of a community group that works with the arts, and I could put you in touch with them and see whether they have some funding or additional. City Lore, I don't know if you're familiar with City Lore. They do arts-related funding to New York City, related to New York City. So that's basically what I had to say.
Thank you, Gus. Yeah, I think it calls to a bigger conversation around other arts connections that we can make, not necessarily related to Arts Connection, the company, that we can make with some of our local institutions for sure. I think short term, it's spending these dollars in a way that impacts community is really the the question, and we went through this with conversation with the CEC, and they kind of called out wanting to make sure that there were some family events as part of these dollars. And I think we can certainly identify a number of them through this opportunity because it's not overly expensive. $475 per family event is not a lot. So my thinking was that we can do like a mixture of residencies. I can tap into some schools. I had asked, our principals in the past whether or not there was interest in residencies. Some of our schools are fine with their budgets and they manage it themselves. Other schools struggle with their budgets and want these programs, which is why those are the ones that we reached out to first to give them a little additional support. But any of the other ones that were there that were visible that you say, what, these are worth, tapping into. I was even thinking about this for our wellness event that we do at the end of the year, that we can add in a component that's around, something related to the arts where families would have a chance to go and do something that's connected to it during our wellness event that we have. Was also another consideration. But any other comments around the arts and the funding that we still have available? Anytime I have money, it's like it burns a hole in me that I need to spend it as soon as I can. I don't like it sitting there.
Eduardo's going to talk about family arts related stuff during our breakout room. He brought that to my attention.
Eduardo, you have some examples?
I don't know whether he heard us.
Okay. Anyone else? Eden, Rachel, Crystal, Patricia, any recommendations that you guys have?
Our group chose the family arts program, and our thinking was, and we were all thinking the same thing. We had the same mindset, bridging the gap between families and schools. Being that we're doing this wellness, kindness, and community, we thought that the workshops would strengthen that, and it was a great idea, and it would include everyone. You just basically hit the nail on the head when you said everything that you said about at the end of the year. That's basically what we were discussing, including the families and having it as the wellness, kindness, and community, like with wellness, kindness, and community.
Love that. Thank you, Crystal. Anyone else? Rachel, Eden, or Patricia? Anything you want to say more about?
I was
No,
with
actually,
Crystal,
we
so she kind
everybody.
of did it. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we all agree upon that, right, Eden? Yes. I mean, we're advocating strongly from family engagement. Therefore, that was our choice. Eden, go ahead. Yes, we all
Okay.
agree.
Yeah,
Awesome.
the big talk was community, and going back to, I brought up the fact that CEC's biggest focus is like, hey, we're bringing the communities together, and having those family events will do just that.
Love it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to organize around some of these kind of arts-based family activities, and I'm going to connect with a few more of our schools that could benefit from residencies, and if they're interested and want to do it, then we'll work with them to create an opportunity in their school. I think in the bigger picture, perhaps we need to revisit our vision statement and what connections do we make to the arts within it. And are we doing what we hope to be doing inside of that? So more to follow on that. We'll add it to our future agenda items to consider and work through. Okay. So the next space, and this I really want everyone's feedback on as well. So during our last CEC meeting, I had posed this question around MTSS. And I'm going to put this into the chat. It was a very, very simple question. Take a minute to reflect on MTSS. What do you already know? Very simple question. And, what I found interesting, and Eden, let me know what you thought. But what I found interesting was that there was definitely this pause, either out of discomfort because they didn't want to say something that was not right, or there was just uncertainty. around what MTSS really meant. And what we got out of that conversation was that, yes, it breaks it into tiers. But what we heard from some of our families is that that's all that they are aware of, that there's a tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. So my question for all of us here is, what can we do to make sure there's a raised awareness for all of our constituents on this? And that's something I'm really wondering from us as a collective. What can we do as a DLT to continue to raise awareness? I know we did our work, as I said, on for our SLT training, but was that enough to make sure we're communicating widely? And if I can ask you just to be in that space of reflection too, around what else do we want to do or recommend to our schools to do to make sure that there's clarity around what MTSS really means. So be in that space of reflection just for a moment, and then we're not going to break out in breakout rooms for this one, but just a quick little chat amongst us. What can we do as a DLT to make sure that our communities understand what this is, because it's a big part of our work. We'll come back together in just a minute. And when you're ready, if you can just put that virtual thumb up just to share some of your thoughts. All right, Rob, why don't you kick us off? And then, folks, I encourage you to join in on this chat. What else can we do as a DLT to really raise awareness around MTSS? Go ahead, Rob.
From my perspective, it's always I'm always aware that while we're doing work around MTSS or anything, that when we share the information out about the work that we're doing to support students, it's not just, it becomes like there's another acronym, right? MTSS, right? We're AIS, SEL, case team, right? And we know what it is. We live it, and we could speak in a lot about the work we're doing, but how are we making sure that parents understand that what MTSS really is just giving children support based on the data that they've shown, the performance that they're doing, the gaps that they have. And it's really just about communicating at the level that parents need to receive that information, and knowing your community, sending out every time a child is in any type of support, making sure parents are aware when that support changes, that they're also aware, that they're always aware of their children's performance, not just report cards, but through progress reports, through sharing of assessment data. This way parents see that their children are succeeding, or that there are areas that need to be addressed, and that through MTSS we're addressing those areas, not just in tier 1.
Yeah, I think one of the things you just said I think is important, Rob, is the whole space of communication. But how are we communicating? What recommendations would we want to make for for our SLTs to think about? How are they communicating? And it's interesting. There's going to be something that I want to share just in terms of the deeper analysis of the SLT survey information that might also lend itself to it into this conversation. Gus.
Yeah, this is kind of bread and butter for my team and my colleagues. There's there are two pieces to it, as far as I'm concerned. There's the formal structure. As all schools know that are Title I, they have that annual meeting. Well, what Rob said speaks very much to my philosophy. There are a lot of acronyms, but basically what we're talking about is the extra help program for students in the school. That's what we're talking about. That's what MTSS is. It's for the students in need of additional assistance. So in those annual meetings, that should be a communication to the school community and parents, especially about what that program consists of. Then it's embedded in the CEP, the Comprehensive Education Plan, and it needs to be evaluated, and that should be part of the progress monitoring structure that takes place on an ongoing basis in the school. And as you just pointed out, it should be part of the discussion in every SLT meeting. What's going on? What's the program that we have and the materials that we have for helping the students improve? That especially those that are in most academic need. How effective are those programs? Do we need to adjust them? Do we need to look at them again? What's the data showing? So, those are kind of the formal structures that should be put into place and deal with this on an ongoing basis. On an informal way, there's also should be feedback between the support services group and the teachers in the classroom, the administration, as to how effective the supports are in terms of social emotional. So it's not just always academic. It's also you have mindset. I think you have other programs, PBIS, etc. Whatever you're using. So it's all of that information working together.
Yeah, thank you, Gus. And I think, the what it's making me think is that, you know, do we have a regular agenda item that includes MTSS as part of it in our conversation as SLT members, as a DLT, making sure that it's part of our routine conversation. And I think that's a big part of this work. So yeah, I think that's a big piece in that layer of communication. I think sometimes it's that over communication because it's not that our schools don't, but it's how are we making sure that folks are actually connecting to it, and that's the part. Patricia, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. That's the first thought that came to mind, communication. Uh, in a way that as parents can understand what that means. Acronyms, you all know, we all know, but the interpretation can be different. So making sure the parents understand exactly what's going on in real time with their child, and gives them, it's back and forth, because working in collaboration means also giving them the necessary tools to work from home and help the child at home as well. So that I'm speaking as a mom. I would like to say this is a wonderful program. How can I help my child and help you help us? I don't know if it is, the concept is clear, right? So we need to understand it at a level and a wording that we can comprehend as parents. Also, being as an immigrant, I'm going to always put it on throw on the table the translation services that I know that you guys provided, but comprehend in our native language, that makes a difference. It's key in order to help. So I think it's tools. We both need tools in order to make our children succeed. So I think it's a fantastic program, needless to say.
Thank you, Patricia. And there was a note too around the idea of, can this be, routinely part of our newsletters? And yeah, we can put this in our district newsletter for sure. We can add it in there. And I think maybe perhaps even in our own school ones, how are we making sure that that's consistently put in there, so that it's not about just the acronym. And as I agree, I think sometimes we have an oversaturation of the amount of acronyms that anyone could linger over for any one period of time, and we lose sight of the importance of what we're trying to get accomplished. So, in listening to you, I'm hearing maybe we can have a standard agenda item, right? Rethink about how we're communicating in more parent-friendly terms.
Excuse me, Dr. Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Rachel.
I just wanted to let you know I have to hop off. I'm at the school, actually. We have a school event now.
No worries.
President's Council, we are having our meeting on the 26th. We will have a representative from Food and Nutrition Services there. And I believe we will also have updates from the CPAC meeting that took place last Thursday by my co-president, Veronica. So I will see you there, if not before.
Okay, thank you, Rachel.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Enjoy your meeting.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Rachel.
So I have a standard
Right.
agenda item, communicate in more parent-friendly terms, and then perhaps also include in our district newsletter for our families. And I do think that this is part of recommendations that can then go to our SLTs and to the chairperson of each of our SLTs. That's something that we can link in and make sure that everyone has a little bit of clarity on agenda items. And part of if you have if we're talking MTSS, here are some things that you can talk about just as a space of a guide for our schools to think through. And that's something that Uman and I can organize and make available to each of our SLTs as an entry point for future conversations. So thank you guys for that, because I do think it's an important part of our work, and we're all spending a lot of time organizing our practices to that end. And if we are the only ones who know what it means, then it's not effective. So we have to make sure that our families have a clarity around it, as well as our students. So thank you for that feedback. Couple of things in terms of upcoming events, and let me share my screen just to make sure you guys are aware of it. Love to see you there if you can. We just had a recent multilingual learner session. This evening we have our second in our special education series that is available to our community. And for any of you that have folks that you know where parents might need to have a little bit of understanding around the classifications in an IEP, that this is a great opportunity for them to get information from Nathan. We had our second session for our multilingual learner families. That was last week, exclusively in Mandarin. We did have a number of families there that asked some really great questions. So encourage any of your families in your schools for that too. We have a math session coming up, as well as a math family night event. This is always great. Love to see any of our DLT members there and present to support 129, but also to support this work around mathematics here in the district. So if you're available, I'd love for you guys to be there. Diagnostic assessment window is happening now. Vast majority of our kids will be done by our next DLT, so I will have our progress monitoring set for each of our goals from that point on. And now I just want to bring us to the SLT survey. So during last month, we had an opportunity to review some of our slides. I broke this down to like the top 2 or 3 strengths and areas for growth. Some of the things that were evident in there, we did have a high level of agree and strongly agree in terms of goals being developed collaboratively, which is a really good thing. There was that space of procedural compliance that was evident based on communication, and there was evidence that data is being used to inform decision making, whether that's around use of chronic absenteeism reports or ELA math benchmark assessments. That was pretty clear in terms of feedback from our SLTs that those are things that are happening on a regular, which is great. A few things that were surfaced was around clarity of Title I status and funding. That was something that was not prevalent across each of our groups. And granted, if our school was not a Title I school, they might not have as much knowledge about it. But I do think that this is an area that we can continue to grow through. And then bridging the gap between discussion and CEP goals. There seemed to be a disconnect between the issues discussed and what was in the CEP based on the form, and then communication to the wider community in terms of transparency of information and how it's being shared. So given these 3 components, I'd love for us all just to take a few moments just to reflect on these 3 areas of improvement. What can we identify as things that we can do as a DLT to share with our SLTs to improve upon these components that were called out with the SLT health survey that we created? So I'm going to put these into the chat, these 3 areas. I'll stop sharing just for a moment. And from your perspective, what can we do to improve in these 3 things that we can share with SLTs widely? So I'm just going to put timer on the clock just for 2 minutes, just 2 minute reflection. What can we do as a district community to help support these areas that were kind of on the lower side in terms of ratings from our schools?
Mike, this is just for members of the SLT, or this was all
This is
parents?
just the SLT. Okay, and what I'd like to do is just add some of your feedback into the document. What do you see as ways that perhaps that we could support? In large part, guys, our results were really good, right? So this is not that we have major issues with our SLTs based on that survey. These are areas that we can maybe perhaps tighten a little bit. I know Title I always becomes an issue in terms of what it means. And, I know we do our meetings, the frequency with which those meetings have huge turnouts is always a question, and whether or not that information gets communicated more widely. But just given those three areas as kind of being the ones that were a little bit more challenging for us than others. Any comments that you guys have, and I'm going to add it. I have a blank slide on slide 21 in our deck that I'm going to add it to just for my own notes. But any comments? What are things that maybe we can do as a DLT to help support that? Any of these three things?
I was thinking maybe like a one pager that we could encourage schools to have at the beginning of even the school year, indicating in a very easy to express way the Title I status, the work that the school is doing with the CEP, and the expectation for what the SLT is going to contribute to that. Maybe a template that we can hand out to schools, say, you don't have to do this, but this is how we envision this communication. These are the gaps that we are seeing in understanding. And these are the areas that we could support you in making sure that your SLT has the information they need moving forward.
Yeah, I love that, Rob. Anyone else? Any other thoughts? Communication being more widely shared, Lamar or Crystal, Patricia, Eden, anything from those three areas that you want to call out?
I'm thinking like with the communicate with the school, maybe we can my thoughts, like more surveys, and also being more proactive, like making it known that to parents, like focusing on parents, letting them know when to expect information so they won't have the misunderstanding about what's like when things are going out, like instead of annually, monthly, like maybe weekly, or maybe every 2 weeks. I think weekly is too much. Every 2 weeks, like let them know like something, look forward to this coming out. I don't know, just to,
Yeah, little reminders, and I think that
yeah,
kind of calls to you know something that Rob just mentioned, the form of kind of that one pager that maybe highlights all of those things, and then it just
yes. Hmm.
reissued for families just to kind of stay connected to.
Yeah.
Because listen, I think we do go back and forth on Title I a lot. Did we have our
Hmm.
meeting? Do parents know what that means? How was that? How is the title? How are the Title I dollars being used? All of that. I know it's always a struggle in terms of making sure that information is not only communicated but then held on to and understood. Um, Eden, go ahead, and then Patricia.
So just looking at all these, I know, for instance, being on two SLTs separate from DLT, there the meetings happen and we have our stuff. I mean, obviously, the meeting minutes are available to everyone, but I feel like people don't even know necessarily what's going on during an SLT meeting other than the people on the SLT. And I don't think the school community is getting that. So that's one thing that I really feel like needs to be more widespread. Like even when we have a meeting, like sharing, hey, there's an SLT meeting. Yes, we have people that are there, but like you could sit in, listen, learn more. I feel like it's not shared enough. And that's why people then feel like they're not knowing these things, especially like related to the CEP. Like people probably don't even know what the CEP is, a lot of families. So I think just a lot more education around all of that is very important as well.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too, Eden, the relationship between the meetings that we have. So, we have our President's Council meeting, we have our CEC meeting, we have the DPAC meeting, which present really nice opportunities also to reconvey what's happened during the SLT. And I'm wondering maybe perhaps we can also try to include some good agenda items for during those meetings for you guys to also talk about, because that's not something that I've reviewed, honestly. I haven't reviewed what does a President's Council, a PTA meeting
Right.
agenda look like, nor would I, interfere in that. But maybe perhaps we can recommend that these are some of the things that we include in there, whether it's the PTA president or their representative, whoever sits in on the SLT, does do that share. And are we sharing it, or are we just saying, guys, by the way, here's what we did during SLT? So I do wonder that a little bit, but I think that's
Yes.
an important point.
Yeah.
I have
Patricia?
a
Yes.
Or-
Actually, I'm going to piggyback on that. A couple of things. Based on our experience, now Rachel is not here, but as you all know, by now we are co-presidents. So, president's report, we mentioned SLT. Rachel happened to sit on SLT while I'm sitting on Queens High School President Council. Therefore, I always sign, which is going to happen today, as a matter of fact, as an observer. As I'm having a conversation with the district, I say, "What do you mean you shouldn't be there? Isn't Rachel?" I say, "Yes, but I'm an observer." So they have no idea that some meetings are public. You can be an observer. I mean, knowing the rules, right? So we do a report on SLT. We have recently the scanning, the metal detectors, where the vote for was a no for requesting them. Okay, so waiting for the backlash, of course, from the parents, rightfully so, but they are aware of what's going to happen. And then whatever you discuss in SLT, if they want to be there as an observers, they're welcome too. But knowing that you can be part of, and the newsletters, and yes, I agree with the rest. I'm always going to go back to communication for sure. But yes, PTA meetings, it should be addressed. Since the principal is sitting there, we always, turn the floor to the principal, and she can say, or he can say whatever he's allowed or feels like to share. But yes, I think that would be different ways to let the parents know what even SLT, CP, forget about it. They have no idea.
Yeah, because
So,
I feel like there are so many
thank you.
opportunities. Thank you for that, Patricia. I feel like there's so many different ways that we can communicate. It's just that are we making sure we're taking advantage of it as much as we can to say the things that we want to say. Oftentimes, and I think why there's this notion of disconnect between what we're discussing and what the CEP says is sometimes, we do want to talk about some of the things that are upcoming events that do get into the conversation. And maybe those take up more space than what my CEP goal, the impact of my CEP goal. I do think that happens at times too. All right, Crystal and Gus, and then we'll move on.
So I had a question, and that went
Yeah.
it went right along with what she's saying. As far as being an observer, can we at our PTA meetings offer parents to come sit on an SLT as observers? Like, is that an option for us to do?
Well, I don't know that you have to offer them as an observer. You can let them know that,
They can be.
SLT meetings are public meetings. They can certainly, if they so choose, um,
Okay.
can certainly be involved. You know,
Okay.
um, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. They're open meetings.
Okay. And now another question. Like, what is the maximum amount of people that can sit in? That's, with space limited.
I mean, I don't know that I mean, it would just be if folks are going to come out in droves like that. We would, one, that would be amazing if we had that kind of number. I think, I don't know that it would end up that way, but if it starts to, then, the forum starts to change a little bit,
Okay.
to accommodate. But I don't know that we would get to the space where on a monthly we were having to accommodate that number of observers.
Okay.
In my experience over the years, it has not been that significant. Although
Okay.
you hope to see it, but it's not always that way.
Okay. Thank
I
you.
think it's how do we make sure we're sharing that information once the meeting is over, that we share it widely enough for folks to hold on to, because work schedules and such get in the way at times,
Hmm.
which is true. Not everyone can manage to do what you, Crystal, are able to do, and I feel like you're on everything. You know,
That's good.
you're always managing to make your way at a meeting, and which is fantastic, but not everyone can do it.
Understood.
You
Totally
know,
understood.
yeah. Gus.
Yeah, you surfaced this issue in terms of the survey that it came up in the survey. What I was wondering whether you can, whether there's a mechanism for finding out two things. One, is there a particular group of schools where there's more of a need than others? And then, what kinds of issues or what kinds of information would those particular subset of schools or the district in general want to know about Title I and about Title I programs? Because I'd be willing to work with your team in designing a targeted training or targeted support of whatever type you want to have that's more specific and targeted than just the general training that we do, for SLTs. So, I don't know whether a mechanism exists for that. Even if your principals at a principals meeting, there may be some principals that are more aware of, SLT Title I related issues than others. That might be a form of discussion, but I'm always happy to work on more targeted support and additional support for my districts and my superintendents.
Yeah, Gus, I would definitely take you up on that, and maybe you can work with Jenny on that from the perspective of the parent lens, and the staff lens. We can certainly generate something, and unfortunately, that the survey is anonymous. It was not the only thing they had to indicate on it was whether or not they were parent, staff, or administrator. There was not a question around what school you came from, so I can't break it down in that regard. Um, but I do think creating a presentation that's available, maybe even recorded, and then schools can hop on and do their own little snippets. You want to pop in here. Here's where I'm talking about, um, you know, Title I parent involvement money. Here's where I'm talking about, use of those Title I dollars as a building leader. We can certainly break it up along those lines for sure. Okay. Um, All right. Any other comments on this? We talked about it last month. I didn't want to go through and just leave it be that we did a survey. I want to make sure we're doing something actionable with that information that now that we do have it. So these were a couple of the areas. What Uman and I will do, likewise with MTSS, we'll organize, a few little touch points for our schools, including, as Rob mentioned, maybe we'll craft a one pager that you guys can review during the next meeting that we can then share with our SLTs across the district as a springboard of moving forward throughout the remainder of the year. I know that there is the month by month calendar that the city already provides, but this can be a supplement to that tool. Bless you, Gus.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Next thing I do want to mention to you from the parent survey that we had shared, we've tapped into a couple of organizations that are going to be doing some training for our families. The first one is through the Child Center of New York. It's going to be around balancing the books and the bonds, stress management strategies for academically focused parents. So it is an area that I do think is important. And interestingly, during our CEC meeting, there was a young man that's part of the part of the CEC who indicated how stressed he was feeling because he had a math test the next day. So this level of anxiety that gets built up in our kids, which then gets built up in our parents, is real stuff. It was evident in the survey that there was a call for this, so we will be doing that. And there'll be another session in March. So the first one is on February 10th, as you see here. There'll be another one that's going to be held on March 10th through Marble Health. The topic is yet to be determined, but we will share that with you in February. And the goal is to have another session each month based on the feedback that we received from our parents. This will be shared certainly widely with our principals and our parent coordinators so that any of our families that want to hop on, they're able to do so. The feedback I've received around the Child Center of New York has always been positive, so I'm looking forward to a really positive session with them. So that's just as an FYI. And now here we are with this part of wellness, kindness, community. So kind of a so what, now what? Started talking about this with our CEC members. And here's something that I'm wondering whether or not what you guys think. So how can we leverage our Civics for All practices to establish a community-wide, meaning a District 25-wide entry point for an action project? So I'll tell you what I mean by that. So during our meeting, we had a young man present from IS 250, and his topic was, and I'm going to put this into the chat, this question. We're going to spend a little bit of time talking about it. But he came to the CEC to present his civics, his soapbox speech. And his soapbox speech was around gateway drug use. Why? Because his uncle, who started off with, cigarettes and things like marijuana, wound up unfortunately passing away from more and more addictive drugs like cocaine and things of that nature, resulting in losing his life. So this young man's call to action was around raising awareness, making sure that kids knew what the impacts of said things were, like vaping and cigarette smoke, to avoid, having, longer term impacts. And he cited the idea that because the brain is not mature enough when children start it, it has even greater impacts on our ability to make decisions, which I thought was really, really a great research space that this kid went through in order to convey what his interest was. So it got me thinking around each of our schools do soapbox speeches. They get identified based on a rubric around where they are. But my thought was that maybe between the CEC and DLT, we can pick through those that maybe serve as a community-wide action project that we do. How cool would that be if we all got behind, doing public service announcements that were related to this, and nothing that's so crazy that we're impacting the amount of time that our schools have or anything along those lines. But I thought it might be a really cool entry point into doing something that's really truly community-based, but out of the mouths of our children, not based on what we say as adults. So I'm wondering what you guys think about that, number one. Number two, other things that we can be thinking about to really promote wellness, kindness, and community across our district schools. So just take a minute just to reflect on that. How can we leverage our Civics for All practices to establish community-wide projects that are associated with wellness and kindness? Take just 2 minutes.
Mike, I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question again just so I can process it a little bit better?
So it's how can we leverage our Civics for All practices with Project Soapbox and taking action projects to like these bigger community-based projects where maybe perhaps as a DLT and CEC, we look at each of these soapbox speeches and then with the help of our principals and APs and maybe even kids, say, here's the one that we want to pay attention to as a whole district. And that we do some kind of community-based action along with it. So it's really how can we leverage our Civics for All work to support community-wide projects?
I would think that start with the needs of the community. Are of course are a lot of needs, but the main focus what the community needs specifically at that moment, and make a selection where you can present that soapbox, whatever it is, including civics for all. In other words, I don't know, whatever the community needs is at the time or is being going on, and so you can present it to everybody through that.
Yeah, thank you,
Use it
Patricia.
as a tool, right?
Yeah.
As a tool to show the community how you are supporting them, and brainstorm and see how can this make it better.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. We had a kid talk about digital safety, and how he clicked on the wrong button on his computer and wound up getting hacked and losing a bunch of his things on his computer. And from me, what I intend to do is work with him and the school to create a big public service announcement that goes out to all of our schools, that we can certainly try to get behind as community members. That's a smaller example of what I mean, but I feel like our kids come up with really great things, and I'd love for them to become even bigger, where we're doing something that's really helpful for our community as a whole.
I'm going to give you a quick example. In our PTA meetings, they were sharing how vaping affects body and mind, right? I'm going to just make it brief. The whole presentation from our school, and the parents could not believe it. Let alone, like you said, the brain is not developed. The students don't understand it. They understand even less than that. And when I had the feedback from the parents, like, I didn't know how dangerous it was. It was, right? Or they vaping, whatever. They're adolescents. What it implies, right? And the consequences, right? I ended up in the ER with respiratory problems. That was a shock for the parents. All right. So now if it's a shock for the parents, and we can tell the kids what's going on, and sometimes they don't listen. Now, coming from your peers, it's a whole different scenario. So that's in piggyback on what you said before, right? The parents were shocked. And you might think, really? You're an adult, you can do your research. Well, you know what? I have news for you. They had no idea. All right.
Yeah.
They knew what was going on, kind of, marijuana, okay, but so listening from the parents is a totally a realistic approach versus when the parents or the school staff or the principal, okay, blah, 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 same old song.
Coming from the mouths
it
of our
happened
kids.
to me personally. It's a different story. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
agreed.
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Crystal.
Thinking about what she just said, and I was gonna ask this question. Do we have something, or can we make a group like, you see how we have DPAC, CEC? Can we make a youth-based group like that, where it will come from the kids, like a student advisory council or
So
something like that?
so we do. We have a district-wide youth leadership team. It's made up of seventh graders from across our district. They meet once a month. They are actually in the process of reviewing district data to help support decisions at the school levels. So that does happen. In fact, that just gives me a space of asking them to come and present to you guys what they're doing, so you have have clarity around what they are doing. So yes, we do have that, Crystal.
Okay, so now with thinking about everything that you asked, how can we uh, bridge the gap from just school-based or locally to the whole community, maybe using the students and what we have right now with the district level, with the student, what is it called? I'm sorry.
Youth
What
leadership
is it?
team.
Youth leadership team, maybe allowing them to present what we have, hearing it from students as opposed to hearing it from the adult. Just
Absolutely,
thinking
we
along
can,
that line.
for sure.
Okay.
Yep, love that. Any other comments? Well, just so you guys know, this is going to be something I'm gonna continue to work on. I really want these action projects for our kids to be as authentic as they possibly can be, that they're doing something to help someone else. And I think there is so much learning that happens in that, but it's in both the academic side of it, but also the social emotional side of it. We learn what it means to do something for someone else. It has a different impact than than just writing a speech and then sharing it. It's very different when you're able to actually do something that you believe in. So the goal is that we continue to build, and as the year goes on, hopefully we can establish some really awesome ground rules going into next school year, where we make these things come to life a little bit more than what they already are. Okay. All right, guys. And lastly, I just want to mention to you around the Safer College program. Right now, we're at 41% of our kindergarten through fourth graders that have completed building block 1, which means they've activated their account. We have $143,000 in unclaimed money right now in the district by our district families. Just want to say that number again. $143,000, that's in unclaimed money that parents could have in an account. Now, I get there might be concerns on it. We've been doing a lot of work with with one of our CEC members and Jenny. They've been visiting schools. Rob, I think they just came to your school recently for an awareness event for our parents. We want to try to get this information out as widely as we possibly can. If there are any recommendations, I'm going to start putting out a monthly little email to our kindergarten through fourth grade parents just to remind them of this opportunity, because what research does indicate for families that do have accounts already created for kids in their first few years of schooling, they're much more likely to go to utilize those dollars in a productive, meaningful way when college time comes around. So I just want to put this out there for you guys and make sure that we're continuing to raise the awareness wherever we can. Rob, if it's at CSA meeting, or Lamar at a UFT meeting, or Eden, you and I will continue to do it at CEC. But Crystal for DPAC, and for Rachel for President's Council, any of our K-4 families, we need to continue to press and impress upon them that this is available. Most times I believe that we're not doing it, we're only at 41% because families are just not aware. I don't think that we have 59% of our community that says that they don't want to create a $100 account for their kids. It's not one of these things, if you do it, here's what you have to give me. It's an opportunity that's made available to all of our students in K through 4. And we should most definitely not be leaving $140,000 on the table because people aren't aware. It's one thing if a parent makes a choice, they don't want to do it, that's their choice. But my feeling is that it's because of a lack of awareness. So I'm going to be putting out information on the regular, but I ask that all of you within your own constituencies to add this to a conversation on a routine basis as well, that we're encouraging our families to, if they're not sure, ask a question. Just ask the PC. If the PC is not sure, ask us at the district level. We'll be happy to help. But I do want to see that improve. Right now, we're at the mid-year point. The goal was to get to 50%. Right now, we're only at 41. Right, so we've only improved by 1+% from last year. And Jenny's been going from school to school, trying to raise awareness. We need to continue to push this because I just think it's a good opportunity for folks to start an account for their kids. Okay. All right, guys, that concludes my report for today. We're going to now move on to Gus, who'll share a little bit about him. He's got a very light agenda today. So Gus, turn it over to you.
Yeah, I don't have that much today. Going back to your earlier comment about the student projects and getting out to the community, It occurs to me that you have something that is special in your community in District 25, Flushing Town Hall. Flushing Town Hall is kind of an umbrella organization, isn't it? Uh, it occurs to me that maybe what you can do is link up these student projects and ideas with Flushing Town Hall, and that they could act as an umbrella for reaching out to the community as a whole. Just an idea, because what you're looking for is a mechanism, it seems to me. So going on my light agenda items, the DCEP, if it has not been posted, it soon will be. It's completed. We're waiting for the progress monitoring tool that will be coming on the DCEP to get launched, and that's expected in the near future. I have not sent out a DCP signature page on DocuSign yet. I hope to do that tomorrow. So look for my email tomorrow and please respond. I know it takes a couple of times going back and forth, but Central is going to be collecting those, so we want to get them done. All of the CEPs should be posted or will be posted shortly. I don't know if anybody's checked on their school CEP to see whether the new ones have been posted or not. I know that they were going to do them on an ongoing basis. They might be a little bit behind, but hopefully those are all there. If you continue not to see a school posted, let me know, and I'll get a hold of the iPlan folks and find out why it's not there. I sent out yesterday a whole bunch of reports from iPlan about various and sundry things like the SLT monthly items that need to be put in, about the Title I PAC elections, about all of the different pieces that need to be put into iPlan. And I know that the district team will follow up on those. One thing that I did not do, and I had a technical issue that I hope has been resolved. I got an email about it this morning, is on the PRT tool for schools, whether the progress monitoring tool, whether schools have done that for period one or not. So I'm going to look for that report, and hopefully by the end of the day, I'll get it out to the district team so we can get a sense of if there are any schools that are behind on that piece. And Title One was part of our earlier conversation. I will hopefully be at Linden tomorrow. I'll touch base with Jenny, and if there's something that we can do in terms of getting more information from SLTs as to what needs to be done in terms of Title One, we can work towards additional training or resources or whatever we can do to support the schools. That's basically it, folks.
Awesome. Thank you, Gus. And yeah, that's something we will certainly follow up with all of our schools regarding the updating of iPlan with our minutes, our presentations and such. I know many of our schools have stayed on top of that. I know some of them may have had a couple of gaps here or there. We'll work with them to help them kind of close those gaps over time. It's not that our schools are not having the meetings. It's just a matter of making sure that we've have a clear system to, once the meeting is done, to get it up onto the iPlan portal.
And just so the district team knows, I sent out 6 attachments to every district yesterday. And I realize, folks, that many attachments and that much information is a heavy lift. So I understand that it's a process and that you're going to work on it. My goal is to get the information to you and then to assist in any way I can, to help any schools that have fallen behind.
Okay, thank you, Gus. Now going through our groups, Rob, anything from CSA?
Yeah, I mean, basically, CSA is excited to work with the new chancellor and the new mayoral administration. making sure that all of the new initiatives are thoughtfully implemented and carefully funded, keeping in mind the best interests of our membership, our leaders, and our schools and children. But that's about it. Looking forward to, the new ideas like a 2K for all is something I just heard recently and how that's going to work. Um, so we'll see. Oh, it's 3K for all is in the schools now, but now they've just dropped it down to 2K.
I did not hear 2K, but I'm sure that'll
Yeah.
be hitting a theater near me at some point then, if that's what.
Get your bottles and diapers ready. The party's starting. But that's
Right.
great. We're looking forward to more support for our families.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Lamar.
Same as we've been working on. We've got a couple big priorities. Union wise, we're working on our big tier 6 campaign, making sure that they tend to be the newer members, the newer members who are in tier 6, making sure that they understand what that means, and we're on a space to do some tier 6 reform. We're having a rally in Albany on March 8th, so had I remembered to come to the CEC last Thursday, I would have made mention of that, but I'm saying it today. So we're just really making sure that I'm going from school to school, doing a lot of talks with the tier 6 members and getting them to know that, yes, this is a union initiative, but we're going to need your voice and your presence, right? No one goes to, you don't join a membership, and just because you joined the membership, you're going to get 6-pack abs, right? You got to put some work in. So that's our message to our members. And then the paraprofessionals, we're working with our paraprofessionals on the respect check. It didn't go through during the last city council session, but we're starting a new session now, and there's a new speaker. Seemingly, it seems like it's going to be Julie Menon. And we have a good rapport with her, so we're going to start the machine and rev it up again. The good news in our district in relation to that is all of our council members have signed on. They signed on last time in 25 for the respect check bill, and we have no reason to think why they wouldn't sign on if we get to do this again later on in the year. So that's a good sign. And also on my visit, Sam Berger went to 193, so we had a great conversation with the assembly member out there. And in my travels going into the schools, it seems like the district is doing great. It seems like there's a lot of good things happening. There's a lot of good energy from the staff members and speaking to them and having conversations. So through my eyes, we're in a good place.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you, Lamar.
No problem.
Eduardo, high school superintendent's report.
Yes, I have a brief update. 1 second here. Let me share my screen. Okay, am I able to share my screen? Louis, can you give me access? Okay, here we go. Screen 4. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so on Saturday, January 10th, we had our first Parent Empowerment Conference. We had over 30 organizations join us. So this is how we framed the day. So we had a welcome, and then we also had a couple of workshops working with conflicts and challenging individuals. And this was also an inter-district initiative, because we had family leadership coordinators from District 28 also help us conduct some of the workshops. We had another workshop for parents exploring parent leadership roles in public schools, such as PTA, SLT, and Title I. And at the end, we had a closing and a giveaway. I'm going to show you now some of the pictures from the event. Faith was there at the event on Saturday, but these are the organizations that joined us, and so we were able to connect our parent leaders with different organizations. Our main sponsor was Emblem Health. They pay for the food from a place called The Door. We have this is the artwork that I was slowly collected from different events and materials for the arts. So we were able to do a giveaway at the end. Superintendent to address the crowd. We had the Queensboro president there. So this event was held at the atrium. I don't know if you guys have been to the atrium inside of Queensboro Hall. It's a really nice space to hold an event. And so we fostered connections, celebrated with our parent leaders. And we also had principals in attendance. So it was a very, very nice event. Actually, since we have Patricia Levy here, I'd like to for her to share her experience. Patricia?
Okay. Now I am muting myself. Amazing to say the least. Being in person, meeting the parents, understanding their needs, and giving the resources to them was excellent. The whole event, but I would like to emphasize on that because parents were coming from all over. Here we go again, communication is key. They were not aware of all the resources that we have in our schools. How we can work in collaboration with the school staff. It was a mix of parent coordinators, superintendents, everybody together. It was fantastic. It was a great event, and I know it's gonna get better and better every year, but I commend you all for the wonderful organization. And yes, it was positive and productive, which is not it's just a big deal, but I think all together I felt that the parents, so I asked questions, as you know me, Eduardo, how do they feel, the feedback, besides the QR code that you put up there, which was very helpful as well, is the fact that how parents felt, and then we can all relate, all right? You superintendents are available, principals are available to us. We were all together as a whole, as a community. That was what the event also was about. The food was delicious, of course. But yeah, I think they felt closer to all of us, committees and school staff. I thought it was wonderful. Yes, that's my take and the parents' feedback.
Thank you. So that's all on my update for the high school. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Eduardo. Eden, CEC report.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So we had our meeting last Wednesday. We actually went over our SEA selections for this year of the projects that we are submitting to SEA. They were sent in already. We had a resolution that we passed, and we started discussing 2 additional resolutions for this year. We had some lovely PTA presidents join us on Zoom. We had some parents there again. We had soapbox speeches, which it's been great to listen to those. The children are a little afraid when they first start, and then they kind of get out of their shell, and they're amazing. Next month, we will be receiving the State of the District from Dr. Mike. We will be voting on some resolutions, and we will also be discussing filling one of our board vacancies, in addition to hopefully filling a council member seat. We are looking to do an interview because we do have a member that resigned. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Eden. Crystal, anything from Deepak?
Yes. Deepak and Jenny, we're trying to invite Yelena, the budget director, to our Deepak meeting on January 28th to talk about why some spending plans get rejected. So we'll have a better understanding on how to spend the Title I set-aside funding.
Thank you for that, Crystal. And that kind of goes right to the that initial part of making sure that we're raising that awareness around Title I, make sure people feel good and comfortable about it. So thank you for that. Patricia, anything from Queens High School President's Council?
We have our meeting this coming Monday, robust agenda. We are going to have the usual guest speakers, Catherine Zapata from Queensboro President's Office. We're working on our college fairs as usual. We're going to do it twice again this year. It was a huge success. Also, we are having Mark Rampersant. We are a lot into safety. So he's going to be speaking to us, Q&A as usual. We had a meeting with the Superintendent 2 for Queens North. We are focusing, among many things, and that will reflect on also elementary schools, because we are diving into literacy. We see at high school level that is becoming a big concern. So we must start at the lower levels. So even though we're high school president councils, literacy for all at this point, and I'm very involved since I came to this country 24 years ago with the Queens Public Library, not only as a supporter, but also I am twice or three times a week there. I have two 19 and 17 years old that are avid readers, so I know it works. I know what it takes, even in math. Reading comprehension is crucial. So we're gonna focus a lot on literacy. So you're gonna hear from us, because this has to be in conjunction with everybody else. You know, it starts from the lower levels, and we'll build it up. So yeah, that's what else. We have Dinner and Broadway show, which I will recommend it again to get the tickets, to work with the Broadway shows for the students to go and enjoy the plays, and then it's gonna be a part of the discussion at home as well as in school. And yeah, I mean, just commending our new president Quentin and Madeline, our treasurer. We revamping this Queens High School President Council wasn't easy. However, we cannot thank enough for the support from everyone, and I mean it. The minute by the time they realized, you know, what was going on, they came full force to help us thrive. And now we include a newsletter. I mean, we're in constant communication with all of you. So, I mean, I have nothing but optimism for a wonderful year. We're gonna succeed once again as a
Love
team.
that. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Patricia. All right, guys. Does anyone have any new business that they would like to talk about, or anything that we should be thinking about before we put it out there to come to consensus to close for today? All right, seems like no new business. Looks like we're going to be giving the gift of time back. We'll give 10 minutes of your time back today, which is great. Umid and I will be organizing around the things that we just talked about this morning, and we'll have some things prepared for you for February's meeting around some potential next steps for our SLTs, as well as ourselves. And I'm hoping to have a date for our Wellness Day by that time too, and hope that you can all put it in your calendars, because I'd love to see everyone present and there for that day. Other than that, everyone have a fantastic rest of your day. We have consensus to come to a close. Give us a thumbs up, virtual or not. Yes, thank you, Eden, Rob, Tricia, we're good. Thank you. All right, guys. Great meeting. Everyone have a great day.